So negotiations for a ceasefire and hostage release deal between Israel and Hamas seem to be making slow progress in Qatar. Now, Israel has accepted a proposal tabled by the United States, which would involve 40 Israeli hostages being released in exchange for Palestinian prisoners during a 6-week ceasefire.
Well, those ceasefire and hostage release talks have been making slow and steady progress. We understand that Israel has accepted a proposal by the United States which would have a balance between the amount of hostages released by the Hamas and the Palestinian groups in Gaza and against those Palestinian prisoners released by Israel. Now, we understand the initial proposal by Hamas was 40 hostages, women, injured and elderly, would be released in exchange for 700 to 1,000 Palestinian prisoners being held in Israel. We understand the US proposal lowers that number, but Israeli officials, including David Barnea, the head of the Mossad, have now left Doha. Some are still there, awaiting Hamas's response to this latest proposal. That will take about 24 to 48 hours. Just a few days ago, we also heard from Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who said that a deal was getting closer. However, that doesn't mean it's necessarily close. The latest we've had from Hamas is that Israel is refusing a comprehensive, as in long-lasting, ceasefire. They just want that 6-week ceasefire, and they've refused the withdrawal of Israeli troops from Gaza. Two requirements put on the table by Hamas, saying that deep differences still remain between both sides. So clearly some progress, but no breakthrough, and that is against the backdrop of increased international pressure on Israel to reach a deal. International and domestic pressure. We've seen protests here in Tel Aviv, the families of those hostages urging the government to make a deal for their release as quickly as possible. We also have the Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant traveling to Washington, D.C. to meet with his U.S. counterpart, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, as well as Antony Blinken, Jake Sullivan, the National Security Advisor, and other U.S. officials. We understand the Israeli Defense Minister is going with a list of requests for weapons and equipment from the United States, but it seems like the political mood in Washington has certainly shifted, with leading House Democrats writing a letter to President Joe Biden urging him to roll back on that support for Israel, because they say Israel is not respecting US law when it comes to not allowing humanitarian aid into Gaza. So growing pressure from the United States on Israel. So certainly that trip by Yoav Gallant, the defense minister, will be a rather tricky one. All of that against, of course, the backdrop of those ceasefire talks where progress has been made, but no breakthrough yet. Alex Cadier, SABC News, Tel Aviv.